Welcome to my July TBR. As always, the usual disclaimer for this kind of video, I am a massive mood reader, so some of these books probably won't happen in July, but I am feeling quite good about everything and I'm definitely in the mood to read them right now. There's still a week to go until July as I'm recording this though, so in a week maybe my tastes will have changed, and I'm, to be honest, still catching up with my June TBR because I keep going off course and reading something entirely different, so who knows. But these are the ones that I'm interested in right now. If you think I should read any of these, tell me in the comments down below, because then I'm more likely to actually pick them up. So if any of these are like your favourite book ever, or it's something that you want me to read, tell me. So I've got quite a few plans for July. First of all, I have some time off around Summerween, so I've decided that I'm going to try to do Summerween this year. I don't think I've ever partaken before. I have to say, it keeps surprising me because I think, let's be honest, I'm not actually subscribed to any of the hosts or creators, and so I only find it when it trickles onto my YouTube feed, and then by then it's often too late for me to actually take part and plan anything. But this time I have been warned 2 weeks in advance, which is really good. I think Summerween is starting on the 5th of July this year, and I am on holiday from work from the 9th, so I should have a bit of time to take part. I am going to be doing some exciting stuff though, like going to Hamilton in London, because I've still not seen that at the theatre yet, and I'm also going to go wedding dress shopping, so who knows, maybe I'm trying to pack too much in, but I have high hopes. Then in the rest of July, it's going to be pretty chill. I think we're seeing some friends. Other than that, I think I just want to read because I'm in a reading mood again. For my Summerween TBR, I should probably talk about some books now. I have picked out 5 books, and these are just potentials. I have no idea what the prompts for Summerween are, I'm going to be honest. I don't really do prompts. I know that one is to read a book in the dark, and that's all I know. I've picked out 5 different books from differing sorts of genres within the horror thriller sphere to try and keep myself interested. First of all, I've picked out My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. This is the first book in a trilogy. It's about slashers, as in slasher horror films. The main character is called Jade. I think she has a difficult home life and she is struggling her way through college. Her passion though is slasher films, and so she knows tons about the history of slasher horror films and tropes and things, and so she's looking into the history of her hometown where I think things have happened in the past. She's uncovering new secrets, and then I'm guessing more horror-y stuff starts to happen, so I'm really looking forward to this. Actually, I didn't like Stephen Graham Jones's The Only Good Indians. I gave that 1 star, but my friend Angela really enjoys this entire series actually, and I've just got a good feeling about it because I also really enjoy slasher films, so I feel like this is the book for me. If I'm going to get into Stephen Graham Jones's work, it's going to be for this one. So this is the first one that I'd really like to read. I've also picked out In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead because I'm doing a project on her books where I try to read all of them and tell you which one is best. I haven't done one of those videos in ages and I really want to get back into it, so I'm doing one on Ashley Winstead. This one I think is like dark academia, so it's about a woman called Jessica who is going back to her graduation, not her graduation, doing like a reunion with her graduating class, and I think she's going to kind of prove a point or something because maybe she wasn't very well liked at school, but now she's doing really well. It says here that someone called Heather was murdered back in the day and her murder has gone unsolved. Someone is determined to trap the real killer to make the guilty pay. When the 6 friends are reunited, they will be forced to confront what happened that night. I love the sound of this, and I love the sound of a lot of Ashley Winstead's stuff, so I'm really hoping that I enjoy this one. The next one I picked out is like a straight up horror book because I thought that I should pick something that's gonna hopefully scare me, and that is Hex. So this is it's set in a town. There's a ghost of a witch from the 17th century who haunts the town, and like her eyes and mouth are sewn shut or something. It's like a ghost story haunting sort of thing. Really looking forward to this one. I think my friend Marlene really liked this, but I could have just made that up. I think this also might be translated, or have I made that up as well? I don't really know what I'm talking about. Yeah, so the author is Dutch, but I can't see who translated this. Maybe he wrote it in English? That's entirely possible. Anyway, I'm looking forward to reading this one. Maybe I will read this one in the dark or with like a tiny reading light or something, because it's one that's probably, hopefully, going to scare me. The 4th book that I'd really like to read for Summerween is The Silence of Bones by June Her. So this one is one that I started a while back, and this is another author that I really want to do a project on because she has released 3 books I think that I'm really interested in, and I already own 2 of them, including this one. This is like a Korean crime thriller, but YA, and also historical. So it's set in 1800 and the main character is a teenage girl. I believe she's an orphan living in Seoul, and she is kind of made to assist the police inspector, and there are serial killings going on. That's all I really know. And like I said, I did start this a while back and I think I made it like 50 pages in, 25 pages in, it's not even that far. And I was really enjoying the writing style and the setting. So I'd really like to get back into this one. And I think Summerween is a really perfect opportunity to do so. It's not very long either. It's just over 300 pages. So I should be able to easily read this one and kickstart my little project. And then the last one I want to read for Summerween is Dread Nation by Justine Ireland. I started this one years ago as well, but then never picked it back up for some reason. I think I just wasn't in the mood for zombies, because this one is a zombie historical horror book. So this is about a bunch of black teenagers who have been taught in a school to defeat zombies. It says here that the main character Jane is poised for a successful career protecting the wealthy from the encroaching plague of Walking Dead. But when families begin to go missing, Jane uncovers a conspiracy that pits her against some powerful enemies. It says here that it's about a young woman's journey through a hostile world. I think this sounds really good, and I'm thinking like maybe some rich people will die in this. I don't know. But I haven't read a good zombie book in a while, so I'm thinking this one will be the one. And then I'm still trying to make some progress in the series that I am in the middle of. I've got a video on this coming up soon once I've finished a couple more, because I want to make it look like I'm being more successful than I actually am. So I've got a couple more books to read for that, but I do want to continue with this momentum and finish off a few series. So the first one that I would like to finish is Iris Kelly Doesn't Date. So this series is the Something Falls. It doesn't say anywhere. So the first book is Delilah Green Doesn't Care, and the second one is Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail. This one is obviously about Iris Kelly, who is another person in this friendship group who I think is, I guess, into theatre. All of these are queer romances and I really enjoy them. I'm looking forward to finishing this series off because it should be a really easy one to read, and because it's summer, this is kind of like a summer contemporary sort of read. So yeah, looking forward to it. I would also really like to carry on with the Empire of the Wolf series. I know I said this a few months ago, but I just couldn't get into this book at that point. And then I heard that the final book in this series is just not that good. So that kind of threw me off a little bit. But now I've seen some more reviews of the third book and it's not as dreadful, I think, as I initially thought. This is the second book in the Empire of the Wolf series. This one's called The Tyranny of Faith. The first one is The Justice of Kings. This follows a woman called Helena who is basically following around a justice for the king and taking note of his adventures, and that's something that I have a little bit of a problem with because it's not really about Helena, the first book, but maybe the second one will be. The first one was kind of like a fantasy murder mystery sort of thing, and I think this one's going to have similar vibes, so that's really cool. I really enjoy that. I also really love this cover. I don't know who that is on the cover, but she looks great. I also really want to continue with the Graceling series. So this is Bitter Blue. This is the third book. It's a direct sequel to Graceling. I think it's set a few years later, and it follows the character Bitter Blue, who we meet in the first book. So she is a princess, and her father was not great. Now she has become queen. I guess that's kind of a spoiler for Graceling, but not really. Bitter Blue has now become queen, and I think she's struggling to rule the land and keep the peace. I don't really know what the plot of this one is, but I do really like her writing. There are now further books in this series, so this one came out years ago. This is a republished edition, obviously, but then she continued the series years later, which I find very interesting. I quite like it when authors do that, so I'm looking forward to carrying on with this one after having started the series back in like 2010 or something. There are also two series that I'd really like to start. So the first one is just a duology, and that is Passenger by Alexandra Bracken. So this is the first book, like I said, in a duology about time travel, and I love time travel stuff. It says here that it's set in New York City in present day. One night the main character Etta is wrenched from everything that she knows and loves and thrown into an unfamiliar world, and then it skips to the Atlantic in 1776. Captain Nicholas Carter is tasked with delivering Etta to the dangerous Ironwood family. Together they embark on a perilous journey across centuries and continents, piecing together clues left behind by a desperate thief. That's a difficult sentence. So I really hope that I enjoy this one. I really enjoyed The Girl from Everywhere, which had a similar premise, not really, but similar. So I'm thinking that I'm going to enjoy this one. It's quite a chunky one, but it's probably going to be a really fast read because it's YA. Fingers crossed that I like this. And then the next fantasy book series that I'd like to start, well, I've already started, I'm already 100 pages in, and that is the Songs of Chaos. This first one is called Ascendant. This is indie published or self-published. I met the author recently at a convention. He didn't really talk me into buying all three of his books, but I did that because they were on sale. I got all three of them for £10 each or something, so £30, whereas online they would have been close to 50. Because these books have been on my wish list for ages, I just decided to buy them, and he signed them all for me, which is really cool. So yeah, he kind of talked me into it, but it was kind of mostly just me. So this is about a guy who is a cook, the son of a cook, but he really wants to be a dragon rider. One day he is, I can't remember how exactly, I'm going to need to flick through again. He comes across a dragon egg which is about to be destroyed, so he takes it and a baby dragon is born. It's the most adorable thing ever. Unfortunately, it doesn't say a baby for long. It grows up fairly quickly, but that's fine. The dragon is blind. It's not meant to be, but it is. And so he's kind of coping with trying to raise a dragon without being a dragon rider and the other stuff that's going on. So the dragon stuff is the most interesting to me so far, but what else is happening is there's clearly a war brewing, as there normally is in fantasy, and I think he's going to have to learn to ride this dragon and survive the war. So I'm really looking forward to carrying on with this. I was really enjoying the first 100 pages. I just put it down and didn't pick it back up again. I read 100 pages in one evening, and then I don't know what happened. I went to sleep and then was in the mood for thrillers. So that was the mood reader in me that I was talking about earlier. The final book that I've put on my TBR is a non-fiction book, because I'm trying to read more non-fiction this year, and also I like to mix it up a bit and throw in some non-fiction in between some of the bigger stuff that I'm reading. So I have Death in Yellowstone. I bought this one fairly recently, sometime this year I think. This is about accidents and foolhardiness in the first national park. So I think this is just telling like short stories about people who have gotten into accidents or who have been killed in Yellowstone. So part 1 is death by nature, and I assume that's like bear attacks, wolf attacks and stuff, possibly people falling into bubbling pits of acid. And then part 2 is death by man. So it talks about horse and wagons, accidental self-shootings, murders, missing and presumed dead. I am really into this kind of like survival thriller, I don't really want to call it thriller actually, survival non-fiction stuff. I read a book recently called Trail of the Lost, which is about missing hikers. Really enjoyed that one. I wanted something similar, and this was similar enough but also different because it's like historical. I think I should really enjoy this one. I think it would be very interesting. I don't know why I'm so interested in it. I think it's because I am also a hiker. I like going and walking in the countryside. Thankfully we don't have bears and wolves here because we killed them all. Although I would love for them to be reintroduced and for rewilding to happen here, I don't think it would go down very well, unfortunately. The farmers and people are just not having it. So while I don't have to worry about the like death by animals part, apart from maybe like vicious dogs, I could easily like stumble and fall into like a ravine and die. So that's why I'm really interested in reading about people who have done that. I find it obviously very tragic, but also quite informative. And it's just a really good reminder to be really freaking careful and have your wits about you when you're doing this kind of stuff. I do have a few stories from when my husband and I have been out hiking, and he has talked me into doing something potentially very dangerous. And looking back on it, we have both been like, what the hell were we thinking? Absolutely don't do that. Like going into caves alone without telling anyone and scrambling up the side of a mountain when that's not necessarily necessary. So yeah, reading stuff like this really helps, and I find it very interesting, and I kind of imagine myself in those kinds of situations. Yeah, that's my entire July TBR. Like I said, it might change. I've got some holiday coming up, so who knows what kind of mood I'm going to be in when I'm not working full time. Again, let me know if you want me to read any of these or review them. If not, then tell me what you're reading in July in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye.